fantasy novels I've read work generally in the context of an existing society of our real world. Tolkien took his cues from Nordic mythology and the Norse Eddas. C.S. Lewis took a mixture of elements from various Mediterranean cultures and his own Christian views. Japanese period fantasy, as seen in various anime, manga, live-action cinema, and books like the Kuga Ninja Scrolls, take their cues from the legends about the history of the Japanese imperial family and the deities from which they draw lineage, along with stories about yokai and oni. So, when reading the book I'm reviewing today, Cloud Roads by Martha Wells, I was rather surprised to see very few connections to any real existing our world human cultures. However, the book managed to execute on this without leaving me completely lost. Well, I should say I was cheating slightly by specifying human cultures. The narrative in the book focuses not on any real human society, at least near as I can tell, as humans are sirs not appearing in this world. There are humanoid-ish races, but the focus is instead on a race called the Raksura. The Raksura are a race of shape-changers, who, depending on whether they are an Ariat, meaning they have wings, or an Arbora, which is a more humanoid-esque with claws and that sort of thing, they can transform into different forms. The Arbora's form is a little more bestial. Both forms are suitable for climbing and can climb, but Arbora are, from what I can tell, better climbers. Ariat, they have wings, they can fly, and they can fly incredibly well. The main character of the series, introduced in this book, is a Raksura named Moon. His colony was wiped out when he was very young, and he ended up going through life with very little knowledge of what he was, and if there was more people like him. He begins the book living in a groundling village. Groundling being people who can't fly. When his nature is discovered by the village, and he is poisoned, staked out, and left for dead. He is rescued by another Raksura, Stone, who explains what he is, Stone is, and in turn what Cloud is, or Moon is, rather, and takes Moon to another Raksuran court, Indigo Cloud. Because Moon knows exactly fuck and all about Raksura society, he provides our narrative insight in the story of how Raksuran society works. Now, the risk with a character like Moon is he could become overly passive as he tries to roll with an unfamiliar culture, as what happens in some travelogue works of fantasy and science fiction, where we have a character who is basically just a passive observer who looks at the culture and makes his observations of what society is like, but doesn't actually do anything. Or they become potentially a jackass. They butt up against the culture and basically are the ugly American, or ugly German tourist, or whatever your preferred stereotype of nasty, obnoxious German tourist who, not German, but nasty, obnoxious foreign tourist who responds to people speaking a different language by repeating what they said louder and more slowly. That sort of thing. Neither of these cases thankfully ever happened. Moon as a character is somewhat abrasive and hostile, but in a way which works, because Raksuran culture Raksuran society draws its cultural clues from animal behaviors, and predator dominance behavior in particular. So rather than Moon coming across like a total jackass, his behavior works in context. In turn, the power dynamics inside the court of Indigo Cloud are interestingly laid out, and make for a, very entertaining and engrossing political story, but without getting into the literal backstabbing intrigue of some other works. Not that the book lacks for action, tension, or threats, as this world has the Fel, another group of shifters, some of whom look very similar to Raksura. This has caused tension for Moon in the past when he lived among groundlings, as when he was discovered to be a shifter, they would mistake him for a Fel. Now, the Fel is described as legitimately terrifying, evoking a horde of monstrosities of various sizes, almost like what orcs and goblins are supposed to evoke, but without decades of epic fantasy writers and D&D campaigns defanging them by using them as mooks. Not that there's anything wrong with epic fantasy writers and D&D campaigns using goblins and orcs as mooks, but when it comes to works like this, having something completely new as a framework makes for a really good strong point. The Fel are monstrous, inhumanoid, and intractable in the case of the Dakti and Kethel. The foot soldiers and heavy hitters of the Fel, or cold, cunning, and sociopathic in the case of the Fel rulers. It's really interestingly done, and I think it handles, without getting too much into spoilers, the concept of your evil or seemingly evil, terrifying, horrific race better than the orcs and goblins do. Not just because the orcs and goblins are going to be defanged, but like when Tolkien introduced the goblins and the orcs in the Silmarillion, or described their origin, he described them as a corruption of the elves, and there's a much better implication here that the Fel are corruptions or something of other races, but it's not clear why, and it's not clear how. And it makes things interesting, it makes them dangerous and threatening, but without any of the baggage that orcs and goblins have, and without any of the unfortunate implications that orcs and goblins have. Now, I really enjoyed this book, and as of this recording, I have gone on to read the second book of the series, and I will have a review of that in the future, so watch this space. Well, not exactly this space, but because this space is only going to show this video. More like, if you subscribe to the channel, you will know when the video goes up. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like this video and subscribe to the channel to be notified when new videos come out. If there's something in particular you'd like to see me cover, or just want to get your name in the credits or otherwise help the show, please support my Patreon. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.